Hi guys, today I'm going to make another set of tongs. I need some more for the truck. Now I'm doing a bit of hot shoeing, but first I've got to clean out the fire before we can get going. It's been used for 2 or 3 hours today, sort of non-stop, and it's got a bit full up with clinker. Normally comes out in one lump, but coming out in bits and pieces today. Just have a little root round, get out the worst of it. See if there's any other little bits. Once you've got the worst of that out, pile it back up. Then I'll go underneath, undo the trap underneath, let any little bits out that have accumulated down there. Surprising how much dust and muck you get down there. Then I'll give it a little poke out with this bit of wire, rod. Make sure all the bits have fallen through. You can see there it's all dropping back down to fill up what's dropping through. Put the thing back on, you can see as I put it on how much that blows, or how much better that blows. I have to do that 2 or 3 times a day usually if I'm on it all day. Now turn that up, and that'll take a few minutes to get going again. So, order of the day. So I want to make a new set of tongs for the truck. I've got one pair, but I could do with another pair to sort of take up a different range of shoes. And I'm going to do it out of this inch 3/8 today because basically it's all I've got. I wanted to do it out of 5/8 square, but typically I haven't got any. So I thought I'd give it a go out of this. Do one on each end. If I had a power hammer, obviously, then I could draw, or make the jaws and then draw out that reins all out of the same piece, but I haven't, so I'm just going to do one on each end, cut them off and weld on some reins. So get my hammers sorted. I think I'll start off with this big one, £4, and then go on to the £2, £2.5, or even the £1.5. See how we get on. So let's start off with the first jaw. Right, I want to draw down about inch and a quarter. So that's over the edge there, just flatten it straight down. Obviously if I'm making round jaw tongs for the shoeing, if you wanted to make sort of long thin jaws for round or whatever, you just draw down more. Now, as in my last tong making video, all you do is turn 90 degrees, and you've got to go the same way. It doesn't matter which way you go, as long as you go the same way on each time. So you didn't need to take much there because of the thickness or thinness of the inch 3/8. So the second bit wasn't too bad. You can see there already in one heat how we've got the basic shape. So we're going to carry on with that, draw it down a bit more, and hopefully it won't take too long. I could do with a power hammer, but I haven't got the room, so I'll have to make do with my good old arm. Right, just carry on drawing that down, keeping the width the same if you can. Just thinning it out. I only need to draw out about, I don't know, 3 inches at the back, because then, as I say, I'm going to weld on a couple of reins. It's by far the easiest way if you haven't got a power hammer, or you're not young and enthusiastic, or you've got a striker. Right, you can see there the basic shape is coming. And once I've got it sort of really where I need it, I'll just, because I'm not drawing it out, just chop it off about there and weld on a rein. And there you go, you've got the basic shape. I don't know what I'm prattling on about there. And so when you're old and crotchety like me, you've got all sorts of aches and pains. The last thing you want to do is too much hammering. Right, draw a bit more out. I'm a little bit away with the fairies actually on this video because the doctor's put me on this gabapentin and it's spacing me out a little bit and not actually doing its job of, there you go, I'll cut that off there, weld on a rein, job done. Yeah, it's not really doing its job of taking away me pain, it's just making me spaced out. So I'm just going to tidy up the jaw now. So I want round jaws, so I'm just going to try and round it off. Like I said earlier, if you want long thin ones, then you draw out a little bit more and keep it narrow. And then you can use them for all sorts of things. Just tidy up around the back. Just like to square everything off. Keep everything sort of fairly neat. Right, what am I doing now? I don't know. Obviously was talking to myself about something. Just carrying on, tidying this up. Don't want it too thin, otherwise you'll lose your strength. When you're doing this bit, rounding off, keep the bit moving, otherwise you'll end up with a flat on the opposite side to where your hammer is. Same thing, keep it moving. There you go, fairly round, or roundish. We'll tidy it all up with a file or grinder later on. Obviously the less you, or the more you can do with your hammer, the less grinding or filing you've got to do. Now there's one little bit which I hope you can see, it doesn't show up very well in there. It's like a little triangle which without a particularly square edge on my anvil you can't get rid of. So don't worry about that if you've got that, which you probably will. We'll just take that out with a file. It's really easy, just whip it out with a file. Otherwise you'll find that your jaws will probably bind on each other because you'll get one on the other one as well. So that needs to come out. And I've just discovered that well, I haven't discovered yet that the camera's steaming up, which is why we've got a halo now. I'm just tidying it up a bit more. I'm obviously being a bit fussy in getting this round. Not normally that fussy, I don't think. Just offsetting it a little bit more. Because you don't want this running completely up the middle, which we will discover I have done. I've should have offset them much more, but it's easily put right towards the end. But when you're doing your turning right and turning right, or turning left and turning left, you can offset that jaw a little bit more. It doesn't want to be completely off flat, sort of one way, but just offset a little bit more. Right, I think I've realised the camera is now steaming up, but you can just about see that that'll do for me, I think. Now I'm going to whip it off and weld on a rein. But first of all, before I do that, I'm going to punch it. I've filed it up, got that little corner out, taken all the corners off, so everything is square now, flush, parallel, so nothing can bind, everything can sit flush, all that's gone, right in there, nice and flat, same both sides, and you see, still got a fair bit of width in the, or meat in the jaw. Keep the strength. As I say, I'm going to punch it. I normally, just for quickness and ease, drill them, but a lot of people like them punched, so I'm just going to demonstrate punching it. It does leave a bit more meat in the job, keeps a bit more strength there, so we'll have a little go at that. Just see how we get on. See, get my punch out. I think I'll use this one, which is the one I use for stud holes in my shoes. I think that'll do. Find a decent hammer. I think that one will probably do it. What else do I need? Now you might wonder what these nuts are for. And it's because of the jaw. I can't get to my pritchel hole because the jaw's in the way, so I'm just going to raise it up off the anvil with the nuts. That just gives me enough room so that the jaw doesn't get distorted. Obviously I can start it off over the end because I don't need to go through yet. Just hammer it in the middle, keep going until you hit the anvil. You'll know when you hit the anvil, it slightly changes tone, and you'll see a nice mark on the back. And turn it over, put it over the nut, which actually doesn't have to be over the hardy hole because it makes no odds. It's not going to, the punch isn't going to go through that far, but of course, like I say, I'm away with the Farriers today, so it didn't really occur to me. Get rid of the punch, level it all up. There's a little burr on the back there where you punch through. Take that off, straighten everything out again. Punching does distort things a little bit. And also I'm going to put a divot in there, but that I shall do later on. Basically just a little, round impression. It just makes the tongs grip a bit better. So I'm just going to whip this off now, and then we shall draw it out a bit. So that it's about 3/8 square ish. If I can find a set of tongs that will fit. And those don't, so let's look around the back of the fire. Should have a set of flat bits there. Yeah, they'll do it. But actually, I'm going to have to cool them down. They've been sat at the back of the fire all morning, they're blooming hot. Let's just cool them out. I'll just draw this out. Let's get a bigger hammer. While it's still got some heat in it, and I just want to get it, so it's about 3/8 square ish, just so it will transition into a bit of 3/8 round fairly easy. And that, if the camera will focus, it won't, because I've got this set peculiarly to get more light in. Just going to weld it on there. Oh no, it's not going to focus. I think you get the idea. Stick it on the end, bit of 3/8, and the camera is steaming up again. Damn thing. Right, I've de-steamed the camera, I've welded on the rain, you can see it's still warm. I've gone a bit over the top with the weld there so that it transitions from the square into the round. You can forge it back into itself. If you don't put enough weld on, you'll end up with a too much of an obvious transition. But if you've got plenty of weld, you can knock it all back into itself. It doesn't show quite so much. Alright, got it nice and warm, and you can see hammering the weld. And you just want to try and blend it all. So we'll be tapering the square down a little bit more into the round, and then just take the edge off the square more near the round than up towards the square. There's obviously other ways of doing it. This is just the way I've been doing it over the years. It suits my needs. You can make it much more complicated for yourself, but I find this is by far the easiest way of doing it. And there you go. We'll just tidy that up a bit later on with a file or grinder. See, it's still a bit hammer marked, but that'll come out. But it's blends quite nicely from one to the other. It's just aesthetic really, and that is about as far as I need to go with that one, apart from putting the dimple in, which I'll do that later. Right, so let's get on with the second one. Got that a bit hot, but never mind. Same thing, about inch and a quarter. Give it some beans, flatten it down. There you go. The round's sort of there already, but you can squash it back into itself at that stage quite easily. Now then, you want to get the next bit the same as the other one. So obviously you've got the other one, you can just hold it up alongside and get an idea just how much you're going to need, so that you get them pretty much the same. And I'm just working it out, it's going to be about there. Just give it a bump so you've got your mark. Check it. That ain't going to be far out. Get that warm again. It's taking a while, but there you go. Same thing, just draw it back out. Keep the width the same. Now I need another pair in the truck because the pair I've got in there will cover a couple of sizes, but I really need another pair to cover the rest of the sizes. Ideally you want a pair for every size. That's the perfect solution, but obviously I don't really want to be carrying dozens of pairs of tongs in the truck. And with hot shoeing, hang on, what am I going to say here? No, I'm just double checking. No, that's it. Yeah, with having hot shoeing, the shoe moves very easily because it's hot, so you don't need to be holding it too hard or too, what's the word, too strongly. So you can get away with using one tong for various sizes. If you were making shoes, then you would need a tong for every size, because it's difficult to describe. Squeezing harder just doesn't hold it harder. Now just gonna do a bit more to this. Just need to tidy it up with a smaller hammer. Yeah, squeezing harder doesn't necessarily hold it tighter. That's the word. Unless the jaws are absolutely parallel to the shoeing steel, doesn't matter how hard you squeeze, you ain't going to hold it any tighter. Alright, I'm just going to do a bit more on this one. Yeah, if you've got your tongs jaws exactly the same width apart as the steel, so that they're gripping all the way over, then you hardly need to grip at all with your hand, because the tongs do all the work. And that goes for all the different sizes, so you really need a tong for every size, and then you don't need to hold very tight. But as I say, with the hot shoeing, you don't need to be holding quite so tight, so you can get away with less tongs, basically. I hope that made sense, waffling away. So these pills, they're really doing my head in. I'm back at the surgeon again. Right, there you go. I think that one's just about done. Not sure. Just check it against the other one. You want to get them somewhere near, and that ain't bad. By the time that second one's cleaned up, tidied up, cut off and welded, they'll be somewhere near a pair. And I'm not going to punch this second one, not now, until I've got it all cleaned up, because they really need to be spot on before you punch it. So I'm going to get it all cut, welded, cleaned up, then I'll spot it and punch it. So for now, I'm just going to cut it off, get it welded up. Yeah, back at the surgeon's finally, and they think they're going to have to operate again, which is a real pain. More time off work. They're not admitting they've done anything wrong, but it may not have gone to plan. So anyway, we'll see in the new year, because it won't be happening before then. Right, whilst this one's still hot, I'll try and tidy it up like we did with the other one. Whilst the heat's there. Comes down fairly easy while you've got it hot still. The 4-pound hammer helps as well. Right, you can see it's still a bit messy, but we'll get the rain welded on before we punch it and tidy it up. Oh yeah, and before I go do that, we're going to just divot it. I'm just going to use this ball. Sits quite nicely in the Pritchell hole, so it doesn't bounce around too far. We're just going to put that in the centre of the jaw, and that just helps with the grip, what I was talking about, or waffling on about earlier. That's all it needs, a couple of bumps. When that's nicely down against the shoe, the fullering or either side of the shoe really, that just gives some added grip. Don't know why, I suppose it's got more edges to grip on. Now you can see it there, now it's cooling down a bit. You can see there, that's all it is. You could put centre punch marks in the bottom, whatever you find works for you. Right, got it all welded up, tidied up, cleaned up, and I've punched the centre through that hole. You can see there's 2 marks there because I made one wrong. So all I basically did was held the 2 together in the right place where they really were looking lined up, and then just put a punch through. put a little centre dot just so I can see it when I got it hot. So we're going to do that now. Hopefully they'll line up somewhere near. So over the dot, knock it on the floor. Over the dot again. You just punch it 3 or 4 times and then you'll hear it change note, and that'll hit the anvil, and you can see it leaves a nice little ring. Again, knock it on the floor. A nice little ring for you to use as a guide for your punch. Oh dear, I'm not doing well today. Christ. Get up there. That's got it. Punch it through. Again, tidy it up. On the back edge there, you always get a bit of a bulge where it comes through. Clean it up, straighten it up. Tidy it up again. Right, I am still going to drill these. Although I've punched them to leave the meat in the material, I'm just going to punch them because the punch, as you can see, isn't parallel. And I'd like a nice parallel hole for the rivet to run on, so I shall just run the drill through. Hopefully, if I've punched far enough, we'll hardly be taking anything out. So we won't really be losing any meat. I'm just going to run the drill through. As you can see, there's hardly anything coming out of there. Just cleaning it out, making that hole parallel-ish. Go. Right, that's the 2 jaws drilled. Now unfortunately I haven't got any 3/8 or 5/16 rivets, so I only got 3/8, so I'm going to have to use a bolt, which is a bit of a pain. I wanted to use a rivet and rivet them over nicely, but this will have to do. I'll just whip that off, take the thread off and use that instead. Now this is where it's become apparent that the jaws don't actually line up. I've overdone it with straightening them up, so I'm just going to quickly knock them over a bit, just so they're offset quite a bit more than they were. I overcompensated when I was making them. It's a long time since I've made tongs. Since I made that last pair I haven't made any. The last video I did on tong making. And it's easily put right, as you can see. It's just a case of quickly knocking it over, straightening it all up, tidying it up again. Doesn't take a lot. They don't need to be offset much. Just probably, I don't know, 3/16 of an inch maybe. Not quite as much as quarter, I don't think. See? Well, can't see, I didn't show you for long enough. Right, we've got them offset, or now you can see, so it's not a lot. It's about, must be about 3/16, so that when they line up, they're much more over the top of each other. The final jiggery pokery mucking about you can do once they're riveted up. So next job's going to be rivet them up. I've cut the end off the bolt. I'm just going to stick it in the fire and try and do it in the fire. As most of you know, I will normally do this with the gas, but some of you haven't got gas and you have to do it in the fire, so I'm going to give it a go. See if I can do it in the fire. Shouldn't be any hardship. It shouldn't take long to get hot either. Burn off the plating. There we go. Now figure out which way round. Make sure you get them the right way round, before you put them together, otherwise you could get in all sorts of trouble. Right, just stick the jaws over the edge of the anvil so you don't bugger the jaws. Rivet it over. Now that's gone nice and solid. You ain't going to move that in a hurry, which doesn't matter because it'll soon open up once you put it in the fire. Right, the final mucking about, get everything levelled up. I'm just going to heat that whole area up. You can see the reins aren't in line or anything, so we get that whole, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 inches hot, and we can get everything lined up. And this is the shoe that I want it for. It's 7/8, 7/16. As you see, as soon as it comes out the fire, they loosen up. So they're nice and free, but I'm sorry, I'm going to have to put them back in the fire because the camera battery's just about to run out. I've got to quickly swap that. Don't want to lose it halfway through a job. Alright, change the battery. Get them nice and free. And this is what I was on about earlier. Get the jaws parallel. You really need to get them nice and tight and parallel. Move your reins over so that they're on top of each other. Get your jaws fitting nicely so you've got quite a bit of play, or quite a bit of opening in your reins. And then cool them out in hot water, keep them moving so they don't bind up. Now I am rushing this a bit because the battery I've put in is nearly run out and I haven't got any more with me and I want to get this finished. There you go. Nice set of tongs, fit nicely. They'll do brilliantly for that job. Shame it wasn't a rivet, but there you go. Never mind. I'll see if I can get them cleaned up before the battery goes flat. And there we go, I've got them cleaned up. Hopefully you'll see these for a couple of seconds before the battery goes. They to me are a very useful pair of tongs, nothing special. So it could have been better if it was a rivet, but never mind. And they'll do me a treat. Out on the job. Thanks for watching.